there. Here, Apple Watches, Samsung Watch is a pretty common now. Mobile health, telehealth is which was pretty rapidly used here in the COVID situation. They're all going to develop and help in developing this digital therapeutics world where you can do the measurement, diagnosis, and treating of the patients. There are a lot of even clinically FDA approved softwares available right now to manage those diseases. It's pretty phenomenal things that's happening in the space. So I want to bring this out to you. And the whole digital health landscape is expanding, right? So which is what this slide is about. Is like you have the therapeutic expansion I mentioned. You have the health information technology where your medical coding, your electronic medical records are getting digitized. Your M Health, your fitness trackers, nutrition apps, medication adherence apps are becoming more prevalent. Your sensors are becoming more and more embedded in your life. Your personalized reports, healthcare systems are coming in, and telehealth can take you talk to your doctor right away any point of time. So this is becoming a more and more prevalent in our life here. You don't have to wait for doctors. You can right away talk to them. This is becoming very critical. So what is happening, just to be thinking and imagining that area, is that in the future, previously, we used to have this managed phone services, which have AT&T in US, but BSNL or your other service providers in India right now. So we used to consider the world as called managed phone, where telecom is to having managed phone. And then in manufacturing world is to have managed machines, right? So from a healthcare perspective, slowly we are becoming a managed human. Is that one of the questions being asked? But it's a very important question to think about, is like slowly our body or all of our different things is going to get a managed, more managed care services are being coming out right now in this world. So this is a very interesting picture, which I found very fascinating. So if you start looking at our whole body, we are looking at, this is the future innovation that's happening already. We have smart watches, we have smart textiles sitting on your arm, we have smart bands, we have thermometers, which is now remotely can from the further off we can do that. We have ECGs happening. They're all now even coming up. This is the whole activities can be monitored from your body, from thermal signals, from your fever, so hypothermia, your pressure, your motion, your tensile, your vibrations. They're all becoming monitored. You can remotely even manage them, right? Your things, and they're all being wirelessly connected. And then you can have some part of self-diagnosis. You can have those devices, this information is being giving you those information. You have home healthcare, and you can start taking action of that. There are multiple pathways to this to take into account. So this is a pretty much a very important factor coming in. And if you look at the whole COVID-19 world, like your world had changed, right? You have smartphone apps. Obviously, you had smartphone apps before for other ordering, but medical ordering becomes more prevalent here. I myself was not very interested in telemedicine, but I had to take it because I didn't want to go to a doctor during COVID-19, and it worked seamlessly for me. So you have AI-driven diagnosis, you have contactless technologies happening, you have wearable techs, consultations are more prevalent. So if you look at the whole category-wise mobile health apps across the globe, the remote monitoring, diagnostic apps, medical condition management, remote consultations, they are kind of in the order. And one of the things you will start looking at is medical compliance. This is becoming a very important, and this is also one thing is not here is that and I will come that to later, is the decentralized clinical trials, which is becoming very important, as I'm mentioning, is part of this whole M Health app journey, is helping to kind of expedite that, and is one of the key aspects of it that is helping to help this innovation go faster. Now, the question is like, hey, for the pharma world, what is there? What is that helping you with all this health apps, right? So if you look at this whole thing is like, okay, how do you this mHealth apps is supporting the patients to outcome for own drugs? They're learning how patients can use medicine. Now, many times you have to call doctors, you call your physicians, your nurses to kind of figure out what to do with this adherence, or if it is, should I use this way or should I that way? So a lot of this information base can now be offloaded to this help as where your relationship with your doctors, with your providers are becoming more and more easier with this scenario. So if you look at now in US, 90% physicians are using smartphones and apps for communicating with patients. Very common. I'm seeing in India also it's becoming more and more there, but it's still going to be there. If you look at this mHealth apps, there are 320,000 mHealth apps right now. It's by IQVIA, and this is again has doubled. And if you look at from a innovation perspective, look at the way the world is changing, right? The aspect of digital therapeutics is becoming more easier because now you have watches coming in having the ECG on your wrists. You're having your blood oxygen meter on your phone, on your phones as well as on your wrist watches as happening. Very interesting EKG. If you think about those big machines where you would do an ECG happening, they are pretty much now mobilized or making a smaller part of it. You have EKG from Cardio Mobile, which is Cardia Mobile, one of the leading factors. They have the small device. They can just connect to your smartphone. You can get an EKG within a split of a second. You don't have to go to your hospital and have those 10 different diodes sitting on your chest to get that. This is pretty accurate. Have a pretty clinically accurate results. Even EKGs on your and monitoring on your devices with warnings about your heart conditions becoming there. So which is pretty interesting in terms of data as well as helping people's life to be they're important, right? So I think what I was mentioning also is there are a lot of different apps, and one of the example apps was like quit smoking, and this is the reason I bought this app is like it has been from us, and we've been using this, and this was to quit smoking, and it was very critical in the COVID time where people's lungs are getting badly affected. So we had an app just before the COVID app was released where people can start monitoring their cravings. We had a quit ban. It did not go well at much the quit ban, but we had more of seeing that this app can help in helping you overcome your cravings, your slip ups, your gums. So what kind of products we have? Because we have a Nicorette, which is a quit smoking product. So we help that using this app. Now, there are other things going on here, more of your nutrition and weight loss programs. This is more of a digital app, which is helping you trick and make sure that you are able to help better manage your stress, better manage your nutrition, weight loss. There are programs like that, again, through an app, which is kind of considered as an assisting app for you, apart from medication. Now, there's another important factor. I know you have an IQVIA presenter, the digital biomarkers. This is becoming very, very prevalent. A lot of the Mayo Clinics, other organizations up here, they are looking to look at the digital biomarkers because based on the information. And how is that possible is by getting all of this, which I was discussing before. They're all the biometric sensors to wearables to management, consumer apps, web interactive programs, telemedicine visits. They kind of continuously send data, and there's a real time. Some of them real time, some of them are continuous data, some of them are metadata. Increased sources are coming in. Now, what happens with that is now your biomarker systems becomes more easily prevalent. And again, this is context is the biomarkers are developed to an AI programs. You are using these data sets. You are looking at the different sequences. You're looking at the historical outcome from them, and you're starting to build biomarkers. And if you look at the results, becoming phenomenal because with few set of data now you can easily identify. Oh, I can classify this person with this problem with this X disease, right? Which is very easy to understand. So your companion apps and this one can start triggering a biomarker, which is very critical for you to help in diagnosing and diagnosing your diseases faster as screening, where you don't have doctors available when you are getting certain things done. Now, the next innovation is very critical, which I have given a quick understanding, is about the precision medicine. This is becoming a very important factor going forward, and obviously drug discoveries, medicine factors is also going to help it. But if you look at what the precision medicines are, if you look at the traditional medicines, is very therapeutic. Especially, you have adverse events. Either you have benefits, you have adverse events, or you have no benefits. Then you have a stratified medicine coming into play, where you have disease subtypes decided, and then you have a group of people who can benefit from it. Right? There's a socio-economic factors in it. You have clinical features. You have certain biomarkers. You have certain molecular subpopulations taking care of that. But the key advantage right now with precision medicine is like, okay, you can now start looking at more of your DNA level, more of your family history, of your lifestyle, your preferences, your genomics and omics data, which very critically being used in your AI drug discovery. What is the best way to personalize it, right? Because personalization is becoming a key theme in the US right now. I'm pretty sure in other countries is becoming up. Is like, how do we even offer personalized vitamins? How can we offer personalized apps? Similarly, how can we offer personalized medicine going forward? And that is the key aspect of it, because it will help save cost for consumers or patients. It will also help save costs for companies in a factor, and what are the key aspects of that therapy. So if you look at example, I want to pick up a quick example of that. There are the cancer therapy type. If you see, there's a lot of rapid increasing precision medicine being applied. If you look at the previous world of chemotherapy is still there, but slowly you're looking at the whole movement down. They're all kind of moving towards a very precision medicine, right? You have a chemotherapy to hormone therapy to epigenetic modifiers, and therapeutic antibodies and cell signaling inhibitors is now suddenly being used more, right? There are a couple examples of which these types are, and they are very important for, and this is being given by the American Cancer Institute. Like each category, some therapeutics are more precise than others. That not the blanket chemotherapy or blanket radiation which we have been given. And even if you look at radiation, it's becoming more targeted therapies, right? Which is that's kind of towards a move towards precision medication. And this is where I have seen with people with full radiation, the amount of effect on their body, they're completely burnt out. But now with targeted radiation therapy, you have AI-driven database, you have AI-driven discussions, and you can start off targeting a specific area and sector of your body, and that is less side effects and less things. But so the advantage of that is more of a patient's genetic and molecular information can be considered. You enhance the ability to predict the best treatment. It helps in preventing and diagnosing and treating a range of diseases, and then understanding the disease more is now clear, right? But the disadvantage is obviously data sets. You need a lot of data to be collected, a lot of different demographics to be considered, different regions to be considered, different countries to be considered. How do you scale it up? So those are becoming more, and this is more time consuming. But I'm pretty sure the way the whole world and technology is going, this is going to be not a big serious challenge going forward. But you have a huge population to manage. So this will take some time, but this is a big advantage I feel personally is also going to be a relevance in terms of innovation that's happening and in terms of the similar drug discovery process. Now, if you look at another very important factor coming in, it's called the bioinnovation. It's occurring in a few more areas, is biomolecules, biosystems, biomachine interfaces, and biocomputing. So again, this is more of the advances in omics and molecular technologies. The mapping and measuring of molecules and pathways within cells and engineering them is also enhancing our understanding of our biological processes, right? As well as enabling us to engineer biology. So the CRISPR technology, if you're all aware of or read about it, I'm pretty sure of many of them, is allowing scientists to edit genes and then precisely than previous techniques. So similarly in biomachines, which is where the biocomputing world is coming in, where human to computer biocomputer interfaces are becoming more and more prevalent. And now you are looking at more of a deep interaction between the biology and machines. And it's becoming increasingly possible to measure the neural signals and power precise neuroprosthetics. Right. So if you look at data storage in strands of DNA, this is becoming more and more important in biocomputing. So biomachines, as is I think a lot of them you are seeing that with implants or external headsets or motor control neuroprosthetics becoming human and robotic limbs. You are seeing a lot of examples in the world. So they are becoming more and more possible because of this bio innovation that's happening. And this is a tremendous impact. Just recently a paper released by McKinsey. It was a 2020 paper, but they have officially released it. It's also possible now to store the world's wealth of data using DNA. But it could be like 1 kilogram of DNA could hypothetically store all the current data in the world. So you can see the whole shrink wrapping the whole information base now becoming very much easier in these terms. So very interesting insight in terms of bio innovation and biocomputing there. This is another very important innovation, additive printing, which is the 3D printing that's been happening. Pretty much you guys are aware of 3D printing slowly becoming mainstream. We have a small lab which we do a lot of 3D printing tryouts in our offices here. But if you look at the 3D printing, it's very interesting inside to see that Spritam, which is this tablet, actually was 3D printed and was the world's first FDA approved 3D printed drug. You can see this whole ear. It is a tissue or ear being kind of generated by 3D printing. This is becoming more and more personalized or unique dosage forms. So if you look at the whole additive printing, it's another solution for controlled release doses because it can produce personalized or unique dosage forms and more complex drug release profiles. So if you look at one of the examples is Frontier Bio. This is a tissue bioprinter. They are working on a tissue bioprinter, which offers a Flux One of making human tissues, and the startup prints tissues as an effective way to test new pharmaceuticals. Now you can start applying your drugs, which is now you can think about this, your AI driven drug discovery, and now you have this additive printing. You can rapidly print tissues, you can apply on it, you can look at the results. So very way of making very exponentially faster things in there. Then you have another Fabric RX is a British startup that is manufacturing MD3I maker, a 3D printer for making personalized pills. So if you look at it, that's what I was mentioning, is personalization becoming a very key word here. Is like, how can you start even making personalized medications for people? You can print those medications based on your parameters. So you just go to your doctor's office in the future, maybe, and based on your history, based on your disease, they can right away print drugs for you from there on that personalized option. So another aspect which is we are implementing and many other companies are implementing is more of a drug facts label has more e-labels where you have QR codes, scan codes that's there on your bottles. So that can help you in reducing errors, reducing things. So we have seen there's a almost 50% reduction cycle time for if you have this, right? And then patient dosing by eliminating the time to consuming of generating global booklets. So everybody has to start printing booklets. A lot of things has to go there. I think if you start doing this kind of e-labels and scan codes and all, people can use a smartphone and start understand the drug facts label, which is very common. And a lot of things are for FDA trials and all. We have to make sure the drug facts label are understood by people. I'm part of a couple of projects where we are talking to FDA on improving our drug facts label understanding, as well as how we can improve people's understanding of the other side effects of the drug. FDA has rejected some of the things which we said it is 75% understood by people. They want us to go above 90%. So there is area where we are looking at multiple technology streams which can really help from patient's perspective to understand the label better because there are side effects, there are other factors they want the clear understanding. So that is another factor we are looking at more often from medicinal perspective. The other ones is pretty much shelf lives. Many pharma companies, they will not openly tell you 30% to 40% shelf lives or 30% shrinkages happening. Shelf lives are lower. How can you really improve your shelf lives on your packaging perspective? So your drugs are not destroyed faster, your shelf life improves. Obviously, it gives you better revenue. There are a lot of technology right now coming up for those shelf lives improvements. This is kind of example of how you can put food sensors around packaging, but the same thing you can expand into your drugs perspective. So this is another one I want to really come back here is a very important factor, which is what is causing a lot of delay during the COVID cycles and things is like, hey, how can we improve your clinical trials, your patient trials, right? Which is you can expedite your AI and drug processing discoveries from AI, but your clinical trials now has to get aligned there, right? Finding patients, making sure they are there. So if you look at the patient-centric clinical trials design solutions, this is where innovation is very happening. So you're looking for more of a siteless trial, which was not there previously. You can talk to the patients, different devices, adherence types, e-label solution, which I mentioned before. So all of this together is going to drive a more of a better patient-centric clinical trial design solutions. So that was another way of expediting your drug discovery process, and that will be all using AI under the hoods. There's always going to be AI driven to even target patients based on demographics. We are using AI-driven tools right now because discovering the patient population was taking a lot of time consuming. So a lot of the historical data and other data, we are using AI-driven approaches to kind of find those patients in there. So one of the important factors that's coming in more, I was mentioning quite often, is previously used to have more of a traditional trials. From that, it's now being moved to a decentralized clinical trials. So it is the key aspect of eliminating the site data needs going forward and also helping in more of a real world evidence and real world data. So if you look at the whole underlying reason for it to make it successful is all of this telemedicine, health apps, wellness programs, and connected devices. So that was the reason I was kind of coming to this here before I had mentioned about all those aspects. So those are helping into our digital decentralized clinical trial process, and they are helping in understanding the reported outcomes faster, looking at all the different devices, aspects of it, real-time streaming, real-time AI is being used there, and then use visualization analytics and clinical data review and risk-based monitoring based on that. So if you look at this, the key aspect of is like, hey, how is that progressing right now? I think it's more of a pulse check It is quite understood that people in specific segments are very open to it, like dermatology and neurology respondents are consistently demonstrate tendency to be open to remote ones. Certain age groups are more open, younger age groups are more open to be a remote. Older age groups are not very comfortable with that, so you have to make sure they come back to the trial locations. And then your patient diaries or preferences are being now easily monitored and managed, so your arrangements are much more easy to do that because of this. And then obviously which area are more important. Therapeutic area is also more important of where this is becoming more and more prevalent. So another quick aspect of it is like this is there. How am I doing with time, Dr. Amit or Pradeep? Is it way more? Do you have time to talk more, or is it already past your other?
You can continue, sir.
Yes,
Okay, great. So this is another aspect of it where not only your drug, now post-drug, what is happening, right? Your care pathways are getting more modernized now, right? So if you look at this from a device perspective, hospital beds, surgical equipments, they're all getting more and more connected as a connected world is coming out, right? Your sleep diagnosis, your neural analysis, your ECG data, patient monitoring, caregiver, they are like different aspects of it, but they're all now becoming connected devices world, right? And then that is helping. If you look at the even hospital at home, this is a new initiative coming up because during the COVID, a lot of patients' beds were not available. A lot of the patients would either be outside. A lot of deaths happening because of that. So if you look at this new concept coming up, is something called hospital at home. Mayo and Kaiser Health actually already are doing that work. There's a lot of other hospitals are working towards that, where you can transform your home into a virtual hospital. So your delivery of drugs to your having somebody coming in and doing that can be remotely monitored, managed. Your dosages can be managed, monitored. Your parameters can be managed, monitored locally or remotely. So that is a big trend coming up here to, or so that we can help patients who are in that process. Up to now, the reason I brought this up is also I was mentioning before, for any pharma company or any medicinal company to really succeed well is also to have more smart factories available going forward, right? Your drug discovery is one aspect, your clinical trial is second aspect, then you are coming to manufacturing processes, you need to have a more optimized, more like better smart world coming there. This is one example of the Sanofi world where the entire thing is smart, right? Where you are looking at sensors, biosensors, you're looking at your production capacity, you're looking at your drug APIs delivery, making sure that all are optimized, there are the quality levels are properly managed. So those are becoming a more norm. From the end goal perspective, when you are delivering drugs, which is an important part of it. The quick aspect I'm going to be going about is telehealth, which is becoming more and more prevalent. It's more of patients providing community. It is becoming there. But why I'm going to start looking at you is also the quality controls, right? When you are building these models or obviously the drugs or your discovery process, eventually in the labs or even be a CRO lab, your actual manufacturing lab, your quality controls are becoming more and more important. The quality 4.0, more risk management, more drug discovery. There are a lot of AI can be used here. We are trying that, and if you look at even understanding the developing those documents to looking at the data analysis of it, using NLP is being frequently used here also, where things can be easily understand, faster data collections and faster data analysis can be done. And then typically the whole aspect right now is like how can we make it a more automated labs going forward, so capabilities can be easily understand from that perspective. So what I would try to kind of start closing it down right now is like where the world is going towards is patient becomes a star, right? It is a star. Your all other factors from your drugs to automation and all are actually revolving around it, which is a little different shift that's happening. We are like to making sure the patient is being taken care, even though we were doing that before, but now it's more making sure that your end patient is getting the drugs faster delivered or improved conditions or even personalized medicines or better way of doing things for them, right? That's our key motto for that. So with that, I would like to conclude. Hope it was helpful for everyone, and give you a little bit of perspective of how the pharma innovations are happening.
Thank you, sir. Any questions from the participants? Dinesh Vishwakarma sir has raised his hand. I will unmute you, sir. Please ask your question. Dinesh Vishwakarma sir. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Next question is from Payal Dande, ma'am. I will just unmute, ma'am. Ma'am, please ask your question.
Hello, am I audible?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Good morning, Mr. Subrado. It was nice knowing about complete industrialization by AI. I would like to know what efforts are being taken up by GSK worldwide to go, or maybe in any of this field.
I think we are doing AI in every field. So I would say, as I was giving the number, right? So, and Charles also mentioning, we have a AI team in drug discovery. We have an AI initiatives done in all the aspects. So we had a AI, myself involved in a couple of AI projects where predictive models were developed for even say seasonal products, right? Where how do we kind of get those seasonal products delivered and discovered and delivered? And then we have also have an AI model, for example, for sensations. For example, because I'm in the consumer healthcare, we are looking at using AI to understand where people are liking gums or tablets, or even if you has a liquid, what different flavors they are looking at. So we call it sensory science. So we are involving that to understand for that those information. When we understand it, we are now moving out for the next level of drug introduction, right? When we are reformulating the drugs or we are adding up a new set of drugs, we are looking at those the patient interest or even taste cycles to their likings are also being considered right now. That is one aspect. In terms of the supply chain and manufacturing, we are definitely using AI to understand the entire demand forecasting, which is we have implemented it. So we can at least have a better planning going forward on that aspect. So we are looking at every aspect. I'm not sure we are everything there. There are a lot of improvements needs to be done, and there's a lot of even pushback from the business because they don't want to, because AI ROI is a little less to understand nowadays. So a lot of pushback happens. So you have to go and present a lot of business cases and all, but it's slowly moving up the chain that way.
Okay. Any further progress in R&D as well, sir?
Everywhere R&D we have there's a lot of use of AI in happening as drug discovery, as you saw the Formalex, right? This is being absolutely used in that perspective. So R&D is definitely a big sector of R&D is definitely using AI in that perspective.
Thank you so much, sir.
Anyone else want to ask any question? Participant from the participant, please raise your hand if you want to ask any question. Akshay Kumar Gandhi sir, I am unmuting you. Yeah, Akshay Kumar Gandhi sir, please ask your question. Gandhi sir, please ask your question. Mahendra Kharnar sir, please ask your question. Unmute yourself and ask your question. Kharnar sir.
Okay. May I ask 3 questions?
Sure. Go ahead.
Sir, how DIY and DTU, that is do it yourself, and direct to use, how these 2 concepts are being utilized and picked up in Glaxo? For example, like the kit, the kit for testing of corona, that is do it yourself concept, or how this type of things are taking place in GSK recently?
So we have not done any corona-specific test kits yet from GSK perspective. I know Abbott has been doing that, and I had a chat with Abbott team and all. They are ones who we had another project which is going on where we would home testing on a specific one, which is still a confidential one, which we were working very closely. I was part of that project where the similar kits would be offered, and then it was being delivered in partnership with one of the other manufacturer who had developed this concept. But the idea was for us to integrate into our ecosystem and then start integrating even telemed in that. So where people would do the testing and they can even use the app to talk to a doctor to see the results and then have the prescription medication or even our over-the-counter medication sent out to them. And that could be delivered through our Instacart or any of those immediate delivery systems. So those are the ways we are working on. It has gone through a process. We had collaborated. We had the entire stream with manufacturer decided, scaled up and all. So that definitely had gone in, but not specific to COVID. We have not done any test kits yet on that.
Okay. So I remember around background noise is coming. So I remember around 10 or 20 years ago, there was one product that is Crocin by GSK Pharma Giant. So they launched the concept of a specific type of cap. They launched a specific cap for the bottle to make it spill proof or child resistant. So similar type of innovations are being done by GSK in packaging or something else to make it innovative or separate from other giants.
Absolutely, absolutely. So recently we had launched Voltaren Gel, and I was part of the whole US launch, where the whole tubes are now redesigned. I think I don't have the immediate picture with you, but there is a way of application use, and this has been happening. This called our innovations team keep on doing that from the actual drug innovation or packaging innovation perspective. We definitely look at even tamper-proof, right? When you close the bottles, when you are opening up, sometimes you have tamper-proof sealing is happening. We are looking at even adding up different ways of, say, glow in the night. So if you're looking at a bottle in the night, you want to make sure that we can at least find the bottle out. So there are multiple innovation tools that are happening, but this is one of the key aspects of there. Apart from that, we're looking at smart packaging in terms of ESG, which is the environmentally safe solutions. So with that, we are packaging, plastic packagings are not being done. That is being rapidly used in GSK. Yeah.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Hello, sir. Am I audible?
Yeah.
Hello.
Yes, Kirna.
Yeah.
I
Yeah, go
want
ahead.
to ask one question, sir. What are the possible applications of AR and VR in the pharma industry, pharma field? That is
Oh, it's a big-
augmented and virtual realities.
Yeah, it is absolutely a big use. I can tell you a couple of them which I'm been working on. For example, we have a big Sensodyne, right? You guys have in India is pretty usually my family members are using it. In the COVID time, we were looking at solutions where we could not our experts team could not go to doctors or couldn't go to dental schools and then give them ideas about the new innovations we are bringing in. So the idea was to start giving them AR driven applications where the current standard is going by giving them PowerPoint presentations, which is pretty old style of functioning from that perspective. From the new doctors who are coming out, they're very tech savvy, right? So we were looking at solutions where we would give them AR, VR solutions where they can go and explain the whole process either remotely, where we can have the few people sitting there, so it's kind of metaverse style, but we can still give the whole picture of what is the effect of this product, how they can be used, and that perspective. And the next one of that is also in terms of remote lab or the digital twin perspective, where you are remotely looking at the entire manufacturing labs or even the other labs, where you can collaborate remotely along with the same concept. That's another one. The third use case was where we are looking at in our websites, where we are providing our data, where we can start giving those AR models to get a more traction of and adding hotspots there, which is where people can go and click on certain hotspots and then start looking at those and understand the product much better. So there are few more other applications we are looking at in terms of AR, VR, but effectively going to be more of a collaboration to suit, which is more effective, where you can collaborate to even print out a label where collaborations can be done. They can visualize at the same time, remotely sitting from everywhere with an AR goggles. So we are using HoloLens. And then also another thing we did was we use a RealWear is another tool we had used where people can wear that and they can sit in a office, and not everybody has to be there. The supervisors, everybody can remotely guide them towards that. So it's a collab, it's a mixed VR headset we were using. So there are multiple applications that are being expanding more in that area.
Thank you,
And
sir. Thank you, sir.
Akshay Kumar Gandhi, please unmute yourself, ask your question. Akshay Kumar Gandhi, sir, please unmute yourself, ask your question, please.
Yeah, can I ask one question?
Sure.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Subrado, for the thoughtful presentation. So you mentioned in your presentation that the digital biomarkers. Right now in the smartwatch, we see the SpO2 and the heart rate and ECG. So can we see in the future the other biomarkers that can correlate with the diabetes or the cancer or some other lifestyle diseases?
Oh, absolutely. I think there are already tools here or devices available here. One Drop is the name of the company. I was just looking at it. There are those tools where can be easily you can start managing the diseases, and diabetes is one of the very important area which people are working here in US. I'm pretty sure India it will be expanding in other countries also. It's one of the hot topic to see how we can really manage those diabetic conditions. Especially it was very important during the COVID time. If people would not do testing, they would not do that. Right, so this is definitely becoming a more prevalent in this terms of biomarkers, and even there are aspects where you can manage your food, you can manage your like educations, your cycles can be changed. So a lot of things are already happening, and the digital biomarker and digital health device is actually helping them towards that.
Thank you.
Sheikh Adnan, please unmute yourself to ask the question.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much for providing me this opportunity to clarify my queries. Hello, sir. As your session was too much useful and knowledgeable, you have nearly clarified me each and everything and more than that. But there was just some of the queries of mine. So actually, as we do the preclinical trials on the animals, in which we have to sacrifice most of the animals for the clarification of the effects on the animals, and after that, next thing, the post-marketing surveillance also. We do the post-marketing surveillance after the drug come into the market. So, what kind of the artificial intelligence we can use in the preclinical trials, means before the clinical trials, in which we can minimize the sacrification of the animals or use of the animals, by which we can somewhat give the safeguard of the ethics of the animals, and after that, how can we use the AI in the post-marketing surveillance? That's all, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, I think if you saw one of the examples I was mentioning about the 3D printing, right? I have not thought about a little bit more about how can we even completely remove the animal cycle, which is not yet possible because you need to still have a similar replicated model. Is human beings, the closest one is animals. You have to show the efficacies and all, which is a completely. I also with you on that. That I don't. We should not be having so much animals being used on that aspect, but there are multiple ways that is being done right now where it's not coming to out of my mind. We have another company which is a monoclonal antibody which is being done. They had replicated that similar model where you don't have to take these things for many animals at the same time, where you can they call it as something like a small kit. I don't have the wordings right now, I forgot, but we have, it's a very interesting cycle. One of my college alumni had done it from Columbia University, where they had developed this antibodies, and they considered as a smart agents, which is replicating how the would work on an animal. That is as one of the examples I was giving. Another example is that I was mentioning with the 3D printing, where if you look at the tissue printings or even organ printings, which is possible, cornea is being developed. The tissue I will show, the ear tissues are being developed, built, right? So I think in the future, when we start having those kind of more active ones, where certain elements of those, so for example, I'm giving very clear example is dermatology, right? Right now, those things can be tested on tissues, which is real time, very similar to tissues, which can be then used instead of animals. And obviously, post-op surveillance is definitely, there's a lot of use cases of AI already being used. They are definitely help you out in because if you have the data and you have that, your the cycles for which you are spending out testing is going to reduce, and this AI is going to help you in expediting that cycle, right? So when you reduce the cycle, your effects of those obviously going to get reduced. So that's, I would say, a simple way of giving that explanation of it's going to help you out.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Thank you so
Hello.
much.
Hello. Hello. Sir,
Yeah, hi.
there's one question from Ajay Kumar Gandhi, sir.
Sure.
He's
Go
on
ahead,
call,
Ajay.
please.
Go ahead, Ajay.
Hello, may I speak, sir?
Yeah, go ahead.
Hello. Yes, this is Ajay Kumar Gandhi. I'm assistant professor in chemistry, Government College, Aurangabad. Sir, my question actually, I'm well versed in using iron approach or retrosynthetic analysis for drug, preparing molecules. In chemistry, we use that technique. Can we extend that technique, or somehow we can have some imagination on the technique that we are using that retroanalysis approach for designing drug? Because we know many physiological conditions the drug pass through, and many channels the drug pass through, and we have all the chemical environment or physiology known for that particular disease also. By knowing, having the advent of this deep learning and artificial intelligence, can some way we can have some technology where retrosynthetically we have designed one drug which is best fitted for the target, maybe protein, enzyme, or this retrosynthetically we are taking back to administrable drug format, like out of the physiology. So we know the process when we take drug, administer it through oral way, and it pass through a stomach, it pass through alimentary canal, and we know all the chemical processes that may be facing, maybe useful and maybe not, maybe against or maybe for. And by knowing all those things, maybe we need a lot data for this, but having that suitable data or enough data, enough authenticate data, can we imagine that someday we will have that retrospective aspect also? Actually, I wanted to ask this question to Dr. Alex also, but somehow I could not connect. So maybe you can clarify on this, that if it is just my imagination or someday it will be a reality also. So thank you to organizers also.
No, absolutely. I think this may be a very good question for Alex. Dr. Alex is doing day in out on the same one, and I know a lot of our drug discovery team might be right one to think about it. But considering the whole logistics and approaches and how we are looking at the models being developed, there's something called self-learning and deep learning process, which you already mentioned, right? They are all those part where you have to retrain the models, right? So when you are looking at few different elements of this from a retrospective aspect, I think Alex did answer some of that part. A similar part of it is you can definitely do it, and I think as the models are becoming more and more prevalent, are becoming more and more powerful, and the data being collected is becoming more and more. This is definitely can be a reality. I don't see any reason why it could not be a reality, and how can it not be retrospectively applied to it. That's the part of your the model retuning or model tuning aspect of fine-tune the aspects. So you can still have models, you can fine-tune them based on this data, and you can definitely apply those principles. Again, this is my perspective. I would like an expert who does day in and out on drug discovery can definitely give more better answer, but I don't see any reason why it can't be done.
Sir, he's asking any scientific community working presently on it?
Not I'm that aware of it. Maybe something you can have an email to Alex and find out if there's specifically, and I can find out from my internal drug discovery team.
Thank you, sir.
Sir, I have one question.
Sure.
Sir, there is talk about NFT, that is non-fungible tokens and other things because of blockchain. So I just want to ask, other than counterfeit medicine addressing issues, what are the applications of blockchain in pharmaceutical sciences? The one is okay, that is to check or to stop or to know the breaking into the system. What are the applications of blockchain?
I think let me just go back to the slide. There are multiple things in the blockchain world, right? So if you look at it, apart from not only the counterfeiting, I think it's also the inventory management. Your this is the supply chain compliance, right? If you look at the whole end-to-end track and trace, which we call it, right? That is a very important part of it. So your counterfeiting is
Vadekar sir, can I ask one more last question?
Sure.
Yes, sir. Please.
Okay. Sir, around the world, not many fellow colleagues like me, fellow Indians are doing wonderful in various MNCs. Recently, Parag Agrawal has joined as CEO of Twitter, and you are also in Glaxo top position. Then Vas Narasimha is doing very good in Novartis. And if you talk about top 10 pharma giants, they're already in the AI domain. And because of disruptive innovations, I think a number of watches sold by Apple companies much more than the all Swiss watchmaker put together. Similarly, if you talk about Tesla made cars, they are outnumbering the car manufacturers. Similarly, my question is that why pharma companies are not going into those type of smart watches? Are they are not seeing any ROI in that? In that segment.
I think smartwatches. If you look at categorize it, it's mostly a wearables and hearables segment, right? Which is where you are more prevalent and more closely aligned with the pharma world, right? Now,
Yes.
I don't know the answer. If you look at the smaller companies or smaller pharmas or the new ones, they are looking at it. But I think the whole pharma world is geared towards certain principles and goals, right? They are not expertise in manufacturing smartwatches. They are not expertise in doing this. They are expertise from the beginning on delivering drugs. Now, via vaccines, be custom drugs or stuff like that. So this is a little different industry coming in, right? Where you have electronics and all. So there's other companies who are more prevalent and more expertise in this one. Now that's why you are not seeing people are not going there. We did try devices like that. Some of them were stopped. Where we tried was in GSK, where we partnered with some of the people who are doing this, right? And we were giving the whole market background to them, the manufacturing pipeline to other part of it, or clinical aspects of it, or FDA discussions with it. So we had worked with all of that. That is expertise we have, right? FDA things. Now there is no. If I am in that top strategy position, I can always say, okay, let's acquire this company or do this. But that's not being. I'm not seeing anything happening at that point of time. But it's definitely a good question. I don't know the answer, but it's a reason because of not having expertise in that area to develop electronics manufacturing in that area. So.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Thank you, sir, for your answer. Thank you.
Thanks.
So if you allow one more question from participant, Dr. Rathod Tejmal, if you can hear me, please unmute yourself. Sir, can we proceed for one question?
Go ahead.
Rathod Tejmal, please unmute yourself and ask your question.
Hello?
Yeah, go ahead, Rathod. Go ahead. We can hear you. You got.
Yes.
Yeah.
One more is there.
Unmute yourself, Rathod Tejmal. Please unmute yourself and ask your question.
Yeah, go ahead. He's getting.
I think he's having some problem at his end.
You can also put in a chat window if you can. I'm not seeing the chat.
Yeah. If you can type your question in the chat box, I will read you on behalf.
Sir, chat box is not visible.
Sir,
okay,
you
but
can
anyhow,
ask,
just now you go ahead.
Ask the question.
You know.
You can unmute yourself and ask your question, Rathod Tejmal. I think some problem is there. Thank you, sir.
So if there is no other question, I think Vadekar sir and Bhavne sir, we may process for the next.
Yes. Thank you, sir, for the to the point explanation on Pharma 4.0 concept, digital twin model and its core, machine learning and digital innovation in pharma blockchain, and how it helps to solve the pharma sector challenges. You have explained it today. Operational optimization, personalized medicine, virtual lab assistant, digital therapeutics, health. These are the areas you have focused on. Also, you have given information regarding digital health tools to gather the data, management of the health and humans by using IoT, precision medicine with their advantages and disadvantages, additive printing and additive printing, as well as tissue bioprinters, e-labels for the medicine, and decentralized clinical trial using real-time AI. as well as you have focused on how AI is used to collect as well as process the important clinical data. Now, I would like to present a certificate to sir for this wonderful and very useful talk, which will open up the new areas for the research scientific fraternity. May I now request Dr. Raju Wadekar sir to please present the certificate on screen.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Is it visible?
Yes, yes, visible.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Very much.
Thanks everyone for listening to me. That's more important.
I would like to add one line here. Am I audible to all of you?
Yes, sir, you are audible.
Yeah, sir, thank you very much for your session. And once again, thanks for playing crucial role for bringing Dr. Alex for this wonderful session. We are thankful to you, sir. Thank you once again.
I think principal sir want to say something. Respected sir, please.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Subrado, for giving the time for the present. Thank you very much.
You're most welcome. Thanks, Dr. Samir. Okay, bye.